Hello, and welcome to Stone Creek Turnings. This time of year, I always really like making ornaments as gifts. Last year I started making some ornaments with sea urchins, and I had a lot of things I learned along the way. I'm hoping to share those with you today. They're great, they make great gifts and also look great on your tree. This is kind of one that hasn't been glued together yet. This is kind of an example of what that might look like. The sea urchin is fun because it's really funky looking, and it also means that you can use more normal wood for the spindle portion of it, and you use scraps easily. How I start with is you can get either like larger sea urchins or small ones such as this. The first thing I do with these to make them stronger, because these do crack if you put too much pressure on them, is to basically paint the inside with a Mod Podge just to kind of strengthen it and give it more rigidity. Because these openings are not naturally round perfectly, what I do then is I have made these jigs. I basically glued sandpaper to the outside of them, and I use these to make the openings round so that the wood can mate up to it easier. Once I have those sanded, I begin to actually start turning or preparing the wood. What I do is I always drill the hole for the string first. Then what I do is I will cut the blank in half, and then I'll begin to turn each part separately. One thing that I like doing is, this is kind of an in-process one where I've shaped it so that it actually matches or mates to the sea urchin so far. What I do, because you don't want to put any pressure or glue the wood onto the sea urchin, so what I do is you can see that there's this little spoke in the middle, and what I do is I cut a 3/8 inch dowel to fit inside that and fit inside the other part, so that actually will go inside of the sea urchin, such as that. So this really isn't, there's no forces on this to crack it or to damage it in any way. What I also do is I size these so they're about 5/8 of an inch, or whatever size you want really, just enough to basically hold on to that with my pin jaws and the lathe. And then I size this for every single sea urchin because they're all different sizes. I have to always measure the inside of that opening and then transfer that dimension to that size, so I know that it's going to be a good fit for every single one of those. You can't just start making this to a set diameter because they are all different. Because I know that if I use sand with this, it's at 45 degrees, I know that when I start making the shoulder right here, as long as I make that at a 45-degree angle, it will mate with that extremely well and look very natural. From that point, I flip it around, hold on to here, and still use my dead center here to hold that steady, and then I'll begin to shape that entire spindle, and then part that off when I'm done. And once this is completely turned, it'll look something like that. And then you can basically do the same to the top part. Looks the exact same, it's just smaller. Again, this is sized so that it fits that opening perfectly. So you can kind of see there, it matches the taper of that hole. And again, that's the hole that I've made. I use a ribbon to kind of put through there to actually hang it on the tree. So once that is completely turned, what I'll do is I'll figure out how long this dowel needs to be, make it a little bit longer than I think, just in case it is not long enough. Press it in one of them, glue it, and then gently snug it up to this side. Let that dry. And a lot of times what I'll do so that this sea urchin can't spin, once it's actually put together, I'll put like a little dab of glue inside there to glue it together. So now you have kind of the overview of how I make these. I'm going to go ahead and actually go through the process to show you step by step how it's done.